So welcome everyone to the Media and Communication Studies Career Day, a collaboration between the Career Center and the Communications and Media Studies Department. My name is Kaylee Ryan. I'm a career counselor here in the Career Center. Throughout today, we've had the pleasure of bringing in alumni to join us for conversations about their careers in order to give us insight into different career paths, industries, and to get advice on how to enter and thrive in all of the great fields within communications. Another reminder that today's session is going to be recorded, and all sessions from earlier today were recorded as well, so you can access them later if you're interested in other alumni who joined us. Our guest who's joining us today is Olivia Foster. So welcome, Olivia. Olivia is a dual graduate from St. Joe's University. She graduated in 2015 with her Bachelor's of Arts in Communication and Media Studies. And then just last May in 2022, received her Master's of Science in Organizational Development and Leadership. Olivia currently works for Penn Medicine as a change management analyst, and prior was a project manager and learning management system administrator. Before joining Penn Medicine, Olivia worked as an operations associate for McAdam Financial, and she also spent time doing freelance as a digital project manager for Productive Machine Holdings. Welcome back to Hawk Hill, Olivia. We are very excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with you all about my time at St. Joe's and kind of what brought me to where I am now at Penn Medicine and sort of my career path up to this point. So thanks for the invitation.
Yes, excited to hear all about it. So I have a list of about 10 questions that I'll be asking you, and then we'll leave about 10 to 15 minutes for a question and answer portion for all of our listeners. So audience, as you're listening in, feel free to drop questions in the chat. We can get to those at the end. So let's get started. I'm going to first ask you a couple questions just around your career. So if you want to first talk about your current role, the core responsibilities, and what either a typical day or week looks like in your position.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I am a change management analyst at Penn Medicine Academy at Penn Medicine. So I'll kind of start with Penn Medicine. Penn Medicine is a 6-hospital academic health system in Philadelphia. And so within that, there's Penn Medicine Academy, which is essentially the organizational development shop or arm of the health system. And so my team is the change management team. And so we have a couple different service areas that we serve our clients. And so I was kind of talking to Kaylee and Danielle before everybody joined that we operate as a consulting firm, an internal consulting firm for the health system. So our clients are key health system employees or key health system stakeholders, people like chairs of departments, COOs, chief executive officers. Those are our clients. And so what we do for them are services like strategic planning, process improvement, change management, things like teaming, leadership retreats, et cetera. So as an analyst, I do everything from data gathering, data analysis, current state development, future state recommendation synthesis, and everything from, point A to point B in terms of client delivery and client management. So that's kind of a synopsis of what we do on the change team at PMA.
Very cool. And yes, I myself and others may appreciate the breakdown of what Penn Medicine looks like, but also really interesting to hear about a consulting function internally at a company versus, consulting firms that work for external clients. So next question, when did you know, if there was a certain point, that this was the career path that you wanted to pursue, and what helped you make that decision?
Absolutely. So I think it was, 2017 was when I sort of got my foot in the door at Penn Medicine. I was coming from McAdam Financial, which is a boutique financial management firm, which was my first job out of St. Joe's. And, I think that job was not the industry for me, but I think I needed something. I had to get my foot somewhere. And then when I got into Penn as a learning management systems administrator, I kind of fell in love with healthcare and realized that there's a lot here to learn. There's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot that I connected with from, values and the people around me were really supportive. And so I was able to kind of start to move up in the ranks from learning systems administrator. And I got my project management system for my project management professional certification. And so when I was in that project manager role, I started thinking about, okay, now what do I want to do? I've been in this role now for a year and a half or so. Now what? And I started working with a strategic learning solutions team at PMA. And so I started kind of learning what they did and being around them and building these relationships. And that's how I sort of was introduced to organizational development. And then I was like, okay, I want to go back to school. What do I go back to school for? And that's how I learned about the OD program at St. Joe's. And so with that goal in mind to eventually work at PMA, I was like, okay, this makes sense for me to go back to school for OD and leadership. I'm passionate about change management. I'm passionate about people and adult learning and professional development. This makes sense to grow my skills in this way so that I'm better positioned to eventually get a role at PMA as a change analyst. So I think it was at that point where I wanted to go back to school that I kind of knew that was where I wanted to be.
Yeah, that's great. And you highlighted, I think, so many important things in terms of like knowing what career path is right for you, as much as it has to do with like your specific role and how you got there. It also took you landing yourself in healthcare too, to realize that's where you wanted to be. And that's where you saw yourself staying versus starting in financial services and thinking this doesn't feel right. So, important to consider both those pieces when, reflecting on your career path. So what would you say for anyone who might be interested in a similar career path? What does that look like from like an entry-level associate within your organization? So what does that career path look like?
I'd say that there is not a typical career path. I think that everyone on my team has a very different background. I came from financial services, right into nursing education, into learning management, and then landed at Penn Medicine Academy. I have a coworker that was a teacher and then came into the organization as an administrative assistant and then came onto the team as an analyst. My other coworker was previously in Big Four consulting and then decided to go into, industry consulting or in-house consulting on our team. I have another coworker that was at, in a smaller way doing similar work at one of the hospitals. So our work is, spread out across all of the Penn Medicine hospitals. So she was doing some more niche consulting for just one hospital. So everyone has sort of this different background. I'd say that a typical career path could be anything. It could be anyone who really has the interest and the ability to learn and, the motivation to learn about OD and wants to ask questions and really immerse themselves in it and wants to be a learner of the craft.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we always try to emphasize a similar message in the Career Center with like the linear career path idea that people often think that it's like point A to point B to point C equals D. And a lot of the times it doesn't look anything like that, which you just highlighted. People can have a lot of different experiences and backgrounds and end up in the same positions later on in their career. So thanks for sharing. So what would you say you enjoy most about your profession? And what is one thing also that you wish you could change?
I think what I enjoy most is that we get to work with so many different parts of the organization and so many different people. And because our work is project-based, we kind of get to be flies on the wall of the organization, and we get to kind of know the different ins and outs of the health system in a way that others might not. And we get to influence patient care and the way that work is being done, even though we might not be doctors or nurses or clinicians. We're still impacting the way that care is being delivered to patients and the way that families are being taken care of. So I think that that's absolutely what I enjoy most about working in my specific position, but also just working in healthcare in general, especially at this time right now when healthcare is so delicate and really needed more than ever. I think something I wish I could change is that, I wish that maybe we could do our work. I don't know. I really like a lot about what we do. Maybe that we do our work more in person. We're kind of at a point right now where we're split in a hybrid model. So a lot of our retreats are in-person conferences. We facilitate them, some of them in person and some of them virtually. And I just think that it's more effective, more engaging in person, especially with participants and getting people to participate. And so I think that, just the way that we deliver our work and the environment that we're trying to create lends itself to be more of an in-person, scenario. So I think that's probably one thing that I would change, but it's all about, what the client needs and the scenario. So you always got to meet them where they are. So
yeah, that makes sense. And having, been with Penn Medicine for a few years now and, having made a transition from financial services, what would you say over the last couple of years has surprised you the most about your career?
I think it's being a lifelong learner and how much I'm still learning every single day. I think that when I was working at McAdam and working in finance, my role was very much operational and very task oriented. And I was kind of going through the same motions on a daily and weekly basis. And I got to a point where I was kind of just going through the motions, very robotic. As long as I stuck to my schedule, I was doing the job. And so I think that in this role and in this kind of work, it's always different. There's always a new challenge and there's always a new problem that you can kind of work at it a different way. And so I think that in consulting work, in client work, you're always working with new personalities, you're always working with new team dynamics. And so I think that there's different ways to approach problems, and we're always doing research on different ways to engage teams and different ways to make things fun and exciting and entertaining. And so I think that we're always trying new stuff. So I think that the level that we're always looking things up and trying things and learning is definitely surprising.
Yeah, staying on your toes for the different needs of your clients. That's great. So shifting gears a little bit, moving away from kind of your role in your career path and talking a little bit more about actions that students can take. I have a couple questions around that. So I'm going to ask a little bit about like internships, but what 2 to 3 experiences might you suggest students engage in college to help prepare them for entering this field upon graduation?
I think that if there's anything that can help or, get you practicing presentation skills, public speaking skills, I can't stress enough the importance of being able to make a good presentation and being able to speak on the fly or in a way that's articulated clearly, it's the most important skill. And so being able to make a good presentation and be calm about it and being clear and being confident in that way, anything you can do to feel good about that is going to help you. Another experience, I think, that I just loved at St. Joe's, I studied abroad and it was just my favorite thing ever. And I think that experience helps with getting to know people, building relationships, being able to learn how to communicate in a new place, navigating new places, problem solving. And so I think that there's a lot to be learned when you're just plucked out of your everyday and put into a completely new scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the emphasis on like communication throughout both of those examples is huge, even if, with the public speaking, like it could be something as simple as like sharing an idea in a meeting. You have to deliver that message clearly and be confident in what you're, sharing out, even if you're not standing in front of a group with like a PowerPoint behind you. And of course, studying abroad, immersing yourself in a new environment is an excellent opportunity. So kind of staying on the same track with like internships, how did you yourself get either your first internship or your first job?
So my first internship was at a radio station. It was at WMGK. And I actually got it from one of my professors at St. Joe's. It was one of my marketing professors. He actually got me an interview for the internship. I think the MGK people came into one of our classes and spoke and said, there's opportunity for internship. And then he put in a good word for me. And I think that taught me a lesson, and I got the internship. That taught me a lesson about how important networking is, because that is hugely important and will open doors for you. It is all about who you know, and that's a serious thing. A lot of people will go for the jobs that you want to go for, and there's no shame at all in leveraging the network that you have. It's really important to keep solid connections with the people that you know in the professional world and calling them and saying, I put this application in. Who do you know? Can you put in a good word for me? And that was the first time I learned that. My first job was a different story. I had put in my resume at probably 50 places over the span of 2 months after graduation, and was just babysitting nonstop to try to, make my parents let me keep living in Manayunk and not drag me home. And then a recruiter actually called me. She found me on LinkedIn. And so that was funny because I spent so much time putting my resume out there and trying to get them to call me. And then this recruiter actually found me. So, figure that. So you never know when it'll happen, but just keep going at it and something will come your way.
Yes. Two very different ways of obtaining internships and jobs, but I think highlight something really important that like it can happen in so many different ways. Networking is huge, using your resources and using the people around you for support, because you never know who they might know, what opportunities they might be aware of, and also just kind of sticking to it. 50 resumes in and you're like, oh, is this ever going to end? And then one day, it just happens, and it can be via recruiter, via LinkedIn. So I think that's really important. So you go through that search and you send out resumes. And of course, the next step is interviewing. So have to get through that whole process as well. Can you share one or two interview tips that you have, whether it be from, your own perspective or, lessons that you've learned through your own interview experiences?
Yes. I have to tell you, I love interviewing for jobs. Interviewing is like my thing. companies love candidates that are humble, hungry, and smart. And so what that means to me is that you should be humble. And so you show up to a meeting authentic, genuine, kind, you're thankful for their time, you're building a connection with them. At the end of the day, they're trying to look for their next coworker or their next employee, someone that they're going to be talking to every day. So it's important to try to connect with them on some level and make them like you, right? In a professional way, right? So don't go overboard. The next thing is be hungry to learn, to get this job, be motivated to take the next step with them, show that you're eager for this job. I want this, I'm excited about this. Make them believe that you are someone that they are going to rely on and that they can count on you when you're on their team. They want to be really confident when they send you this offer letter. They don't want to have a doubt in their mind. So you have to show them that you're hungry for this, and then show them that you're smart. And that to me means do your research before the interview. Make sure that you know as much as you can possibly know about this company, maybe even about the hiring manager, if you're looking on LinkedIn like I would, but make sure you know about this company. Know, what their values are, what they've done in the last year. If they put out a market trends report, know where they're going. If they have a strategic plan, know about that, and come with questions so that they know that you care about this company. And so they're going to be impressed by that. And the last thing is always send a thank you. That goes back to the humble thing. Always say thank you. These people took time out of their week, their day to talk with you. So say thank you, and bonus points if you can throw in something in your thank you email that you talked about in your conversation.
Yeah. Olivia, I'm giving a presentation tomorrow for a class about interview skills and tips. So I might ask you to come and guest speak, because that was very well put in terms of like all the important aspects of an interview. Or I might quote your humble, hungry, and smart approach to interviewing. But yeah, I think it's, definitely a situation that draws a lot of nerves for a lot of people. So kind of learning the important, approaches that you can have to make yourself feel just that much more confident in yourself walking into the interview, and how you can, have that exude so that others get that sense as well.
Yep. And you have my full permission. Take the humble, hungry, smart. It is yours.
Thank you. I'll put it in quotes and I'll put your name after it. I won't take the credit.
No. I'm not the original author of that. Oh. I don't know where that's from, but
yeah, I like it. So asking you to, kind of go back in your memory in your time at St. Joe's. So your SJU education included keystone courses in social justice and ethics. How would you say that has impacted how you work, and or the career decisions that you've made thus far?
I think that my time at St. Joe's, also combined with my work at Penn Medicine, has really, I think, shaped me as a person and where I kind of want to take the rest of my career and my life in terms of social justice and ethics and diversity, inclusion, equity. And what I mean by that is, Penn Medicine and a lot of the work that we've done and we've prioritized is because of the Penn Medicine goals. And a lot of the Penn Medicine goals have been centered around, for the past 3 years, diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism. And what we've done around that has been really impactful in terms of, our community health work and trying to make changes that will better outcomes for communities that we serve. And so I think that because of that, and because of, my time at St. Joe's, it's just connected me so deeply to the mission of Penn Medicine. And it's why I don't want to leave Penn Medicine, because it's just so important. Or when I leave Penn Medicine, if I were to leave, it'd be really important to me to find a company whose mission is really closely connected to that and those values, and whose vision is closely aligned with that, because it's so important.
Yeah. It's great to hear that your experiences here really shaped that value of being connected to the mission of an organization and the work that they're doing, no matter what the industry might be, and how that's going to be something that sticks with you, whether you stay with Penn Medicine, like you said, or move on one day. So I know earlier you mentioned that an entry-level position in your particular line of work might not be linear, but do you have a suggestion for any types of internships students could try to secure in preparing for a role like yours, or even in the industry?
Absolutely. So I mentioned at the beginning of our call that I'm in consulting internally at Penn Medicine. I think that if students are interested in consulting, they should go. I would recommend trying to get an internship for an external consulting company. I think that if I had known at St. Joe's when I was graduating that this is the work that I wanted to do, I would have tried to get an internship at Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, McKinsey, the big dogs. I would have tried to get in there, because you will learn fast. You will work a lot. So you can't be scared of that, but you will learn a lot very quickly. And they have programs where you move up in the ladder. And so people get hired at places like Deloitte and they spend their entire career there, because it's such an amazing place to work. You learn a ton. The people are amazing. The culture is amazing. The pay is amazing, right? Like it's just great. And people are really connected to the work. So I think that if consulting, change management, organizational development is something that you want to do, you're interested in, look at the big four: Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, McKinsey. Look into consulting firms, even smaller ones too. Nothing bad about, Dynamic or other, smaller consulting firms, and look to get in there as an associate. And then, you'll work your way up. I think that would be a great opportunity. Yeah,
that's great. And I appreciate you sharing specific, organization names for students to keep their eyes out for. Yeah, I definitely agree. I have a lot of friends from, college who decided to pursue that career. And although we're not far out, they're still, working for Deloitte and, really in it. And they love the culture and the work that they're doing. So they definitely have that, positive pull and, definitely take care of the employees and their growth. So 2 final questions before we get into the question and answer portion. The first being, what is something that you wish someone told you when you were in school?
I think I wish that someone told me, I think I touched on this a little earlier, that I'd be presenting a lot and that I'd be writing a lot. I do a lot of writing. So my coworkers and I joke that we're like writers, and we use the right click synonym button a lot in our synthesis reports, and it's all about the synonyms. Got to switch it up. So I think that I wish someone told me that I'd be writing this much and facilitating, although those are the parts of my job I love. But I would have laughed if you told me I'm like facilitating retreats of 100 people. That'd be funny.
Yeah, it's like all the things in college that you're like, I can't wait to never write a paper again, or never have to give, a public speaking presentation again. And it's like, actually, you'll probably have to do that a lot.
Right.
And then what is a piece of advice you would give to students who are interested in your career path?
I think just to kind of reiterate a few things is leverage your network, get the internship where you want to work, if you can, if it's a big company. And also, once you have the job or the internship, ask questions, put yourself in the room. Don't be quiet on any meetings, and speak up soon in a meeting. The longer that you stay quiet after the meeting starts, the harder it is to start talking. And so the sooner that you speak, the more likely you will be to keep speaking. And so just make your presence known and take up space. And if you're interested in organizational development and leadership in general, I can't recommend St. Joe's program enough. It's great, especially when you have a full-time job. It was very flexible for me to like do everything, to have a job and to do the program at night. And it's directly applicable. It was really, really nice and set me up for success in my role. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you so much. So now to transition to the question and answer portion, I'm hoping members of the audience have some questions for Olivia. So if you're comfortable using the raise hand icon and asking your question out loud, or if you're more comfortable putting your question in the chat, whatever works for you. But I'll give, about 10 to 15 minutes for the question and answer portion. Yes, Kenzie, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you for being here, Olivia. I appreciate it. I was just wondering how you would go about getting like rejections from companies that you really wanted to work for, because you can't really get feedback afterwards, be like, why don't you like me or whatever, because, they kind of stop being in touch with you after that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you actually can ask for feedback. I think, in some cases, it depends, how the rejection happens, right? Like if you just get the automatic email from HR without, really anything that's like personal, it can feel a little bit like, ugh, like that kind of stinks. But I think if you, had a conversation with the hiring manager and you have the hiring manager's email, you have their contact information, I would absolutely send them an email and just say, thank you again for your time. I, understand that you went in a different direction. If you have any feedback for me on why it didn't work out, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you might be surprised what you get back. It might be something like, oh, someone internally got the promotion, or, it's someone's daughter, or, you know what I mean? Like you might be surprised. It might actually be nothing to do with you, or you might get something really constructive. I think that it's a great move to ask for feedback.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. Anyone else have any questions for Olivia? All right. Well, if no one else has any questions, I just want to, take a moment to thank Olivia for joining us today and providing really great insight into your career. We're grateful for your time, and we really hope to see you back on Hawk Hill soon. Viewers, again, just a reminder, this session was recorded and will be available for you viewing on YouTube in the coming weeks. And I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Kaylee and Danielle, for organizing this. And thank you so much, everyone. This was so fun. I wish you all success in your applications and your interview process. And yeah, thank you so much.